And let me just pause there because I want to add this in. The burden to meet for the Macrons, because he is a public figure and he's a elected official, albeit in a different country, is that he has to prove malice intent, right? So it's still having to prove, uh, a preponderance of the evidence with malice intent. So it's ended up a little bit because of his position being an elected official. He's the president of a country, and he's a public figure as well. Um, but the thing is, even with the malice intent, if you are correcting the record, meaning they sent exhibits to Candace to get her to correct the record, to try to get her to, you know, look at the evidence, um, to say that this is incorrect, what you're saying, what you're doing is wrong. I'm not a man, I'm a woman. You know, here's some evidence to prove it. And she, if you listen closely in her videos she did covering that, even said that she was willing to accept just some yes and no responses to some questions. So, of course, she wanted a full interview. Well, they don't owe her that. And because they did not give her an interview, a one-on-one interview, she got mad. And then she came back, doubled down, and then of course they started sending her photos. They sent the birth announcement. They sent her other documentation to prove that, the photos alone were from Brigitte Macron's childhood, wedding photos. I think they did send her a couple photos where she was pregnant. Brigitte Macron has 3 children. She has grandchildren now. So she sent photos. And somehow Candace is still running around here talking about she is a man, born a man, because, like she said, she staked her entire professional career on it. But what Candace realizes is that what she's claiming would require scientific evidence. You can't go after someone's gender, which is physiological, and ignore the fact that you would need scientific evidence, DNA, to prove that. If irrefutable proof. Now, would the court make Brigitte Macron give up DNA? No, they wouldn't. But since the Macrons have announced that they are willing to provide scientific evidence, now how do you think Candace is looking at this lawsuit situation? Because they're not going to sit here and go through all that what they're going through and say, we're going to come with scientific evidence because we know that is the one piece of irrefutable evidence you need to prove someone's gender. When you're talking about human anatomy, biology, it is a matter of science. Now they're prepared to produce that evidence. And Candace Owens is freaking out. That's why she's sitting here talking about the Macrons lawsuit somehow was filed to silence her from talking about the death of Charlie Kirk, which happened after they filed the lawsuit anyway. And her ego, her pride won't allow her to at least say, I made an error in good faith. Because now she can't say it's in good faith because she's doubling down on it. I have literally said that in at least 2 videos. Candace Owens does not want to do what we see as reporting with integrity. She wants to be salacious. She wants the views, the notoriety, the sponsors she has. She wants to have this influence that she has. And it's like she's becoming drunk on this. And it's not worth it. She's got a husband and 4 kids. Why would she risk her entire professional career on the first lady of an entirely different country again? I've asked 2 or 3 times, why isn't she saying the same things about Melania Trump? I mean, to be honest, why not just go after any first lady that's been accused of being a man? Why the French president and his wife? Why not go after? People have said the same thing about Melania Trump. Why not go for that? Why not go after any story, Candace, that is focused in the United States of America? You're going after something that's happening in France like we care. Why do you care about anything going on in France when the same things have been said about the First Lady of the United States? Candace knows that it was the quickest and most assured way to pick up from something that was already trending and to run wild with it. And she went all the way there. And the more crazy, the more kooky it is, the more salacious it is, the more views you get, the more subscribers, the more sponsors, the more attention it gets. Because look what's happening. Look how wild and crazy she is about the death of Charlie Kirk, insinuating the United States military. We can't say what branch of the armed forces. If I started saying some of the craziest stuff that I could think of and doing videos and content, people start watching it. They're like, what the hell is Lady Luck Club talking about? People will watch it because they're trying to see what I'm saying. Let me sit here and read a lawsuit or some facts or something. Nope. Crazy shit sells. Crazy shit gets attention. Crazy nonsense gets views. At this point, she's so far in this. I mean, who's going to help her get out of that hole she dug for herself? She's insane. And she knows it. But what she will not be able to do is pull that nonsense off in court because there's a jury trial demand. And you got 6 to 12 members of your peers that's going to sit on that jury, Candace. And they're going to sit here and say, why didn't you just correct the record when they sent you all of this information, this evidence to prove you wrong? What is she going to say about that?
Perhaps this is a chicken and egg quandary. Which came first, the affinity for public legal battles or the inevitable life trajectory of one so conditioned to endure this exact type of dispute? Maybe the more important question is, why is she so willing to take such a potentially risky stance on a story this sensational? Does 2025 Candace concretely believe she's going to win this lawsuit? Or does some level of doubt still linger in the equation in her mind? If the risk is known, why take the chance? Could it be as simple as the pattern of success? Up to this point, Candace hasn't lost a battle yet. Does the old proverb, pride goes before destruction, apply here? Or will Candace come out victorious once again? It is important to note that the 2 women who initially launched this theory against Brigitte were already taken to court in France by the Macrons, where at first, in the lower courts, the Macrons experienced success. However, it was short-lived, and the 2 women were exonerated and found not guilty of defamation in an appeal that took place in July of 2025. Was this verdict a foreshadowing for Candace? The case against Candace would not land on French ground, but instead would be destined for the Delaware court. And if you recall from the classic suit story, Delaware is one of the strongest anti-SLAPP states in the country and rates at a perfect score of 100. Coincidence? Maybe. But if not, Delaware may have been a strategic move from the start. Did Candace incorporate her businesses in Delaware on purpose so that she could potentially make whatever claims she wanted? It would be too easy to dismiss Candace Owens as a crazed conspiracy theorist, unworthy of public attention, and yet perhaps too unfair to the public to simply let her off the hook and not hold her accountable for her claims. When looking at her life through the only lens we have, a publicly available one with natural limitations, the highlights are revealed organically. From the bullied, scared teenager to the stoic, hardened personality we see today, it begs the question, has Candace become what she loathed in her younger years? Has Candace now in fact become the bully she vowed to protect people from? Or are we asking the wrong questions? The honest truth is that no one knows but Candace herself and God. And maybe she doesn't even know. Is the Candace that we see simply an act, a personality she dons as a mask in order to accomplish whatever means she intends, be it notoriety, money, excitement, or truth? Or maybe the Candace that we see is really just Candace, and what you see is what you get. Time will tell.
Wow.
Thanks for watching. Whether you believe Candace is a righteous figure standing for justice or not, her story can actually be a warning to us all. Be careful in your passion, lest you become the very thing you hate. It's easy to see that this world is a sinful place, and sadly, sometimes we find ourselves wrapped up in the very evils that we condemn. It's true that in a lot of ways, our decisions today are defined by patterns from our past. What started as innocence is left broken, marred by shame and regret. But what if I told you there was a way to break off the negative patterns and be free again? And I'm not trying to sell a self-help book here. I'm actually talking about a spiritual truth that changed my life. I have some good news today. I believe there is a way to become something more than what our past dictates. And the answer is not so hard to find. It's found in a simple story. The Bible tells us that the one who did not know sin became sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. This is the story of a holy God who created a people that he loved with a perfect love. Yet those people wandered away from him and in some cases ran away. But because he still loved them so much, God came to the earth as a man, lived a perfect life, and then allowed people to kill him unjustly by hanging him on a cross. When Jesus did this, he was taking the punishment for sin, our sin, upon himself. And he was making a way for us to know God again. As he hung on that cross, he became sin so that we could become new, so that we could be forgiven and become something more, friends with God, people that will spend eternity with him. I believe this is more than just a story. I believe it's true. And it has changed my life in every way. And it can do the very same thing for you today, if you choose to believe it. My friend, we shot this whole video to be able to say this to you. Jesus is right there, and he's reaching out to you. I hope you enjoyed this content, and I'll see you next time.
I did. That was fantastic. Shout out to Philly Busted for this video. This was really, really good. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was good 20 minutes here. And I mean, it just kind of spoke to, her history. And I believe in this. If I'm going to sit here and do a video and report on someone, I at least try to get some sort of backdrop on that individual. So this was a good backdrop, gave some history behind Candace and who she is. And I'm just, I still don't understand why she wants to put herself in this situation. Like,